Ba-da-da-da-da, ba-da-da-da-da-da, pooch, ba-da-da-da-da-da, pooch, ba-da-da-da-da-da, pooch. Hello, Coffee Dots. Welcome to another episode of Confidently Insecure, the podcast where we are absolutely sure we don't know everything. I am your host, Kelsey Darragh, and oh my gosh, you guys, it's a hostful. It's a hostful episode. It's an episode full of your host. It's me, your girl, Kelsey Darragh. Hi. Have you been having a good holiday weekend? What did you do? Did you celebrate Thanksgiving? I saw a lot of hot topics on Twitter about we're not celebrating Thanksgiving anymore because we're not really celebrating the massacre of entire peoples, but we are gonna change it into just being about celebrating gathering with family, which feels like some sort of bypassing. I didn't do much. I knew that I didn't want to do anything. I didn't want to go out of town. I just had a new roommate move in. You guys might remember our good friend of the pod, Florence Bachway, also the host of Come Curious podcast. She's also the host of Love High, which I have guested on. She is basically like the UK version of me in a way. She's a content creator, a podcaster. She works in the industry. She's gorgeous, talented, and so easy to live with. Which I think the timing of that all with my breakup with Jared and then her moving to America and getting her visa, it was just too serendipitous to not be okay, this is obviously meant to be. So that's been really fun, is having her living here. She was out of town for Thanksgiving, so I knew she was going to be gone. I knew that I wasn't going to be flying home. A couple of my friends were out of town with their families, and I was like, you know what sounds amazing? Doing absolutely nothing for Thanksgiving, not having to worry about anything, not having to show up anywhere, not having to cook anything. And so me and Hippo planted our fat behinds right on the couch, and we watched about 700 documentaries this week. I was working all the way up until Wednesday, so Thursday was a very welcomed break. And now it's the weekend, baby, and we're about to rev back up into a working week. However, I do feel and tell me if this is your part of the country does this too. After Thanksgiving, everyone's done. We're done for the year. No one's putting in maximum effort. No one's we're all just getting by, doing what we have to do to put our hours in to close out the rest of the year. However, I am not so much doing that this year. I'm not so very lucky to be doing that this year because, as the title says, you guys, I'm making a fucking movie. And not just any movie. I've made a movie before. I have made a short film, a scripted short. I made 300 plus videos at BuzzFeed. I made a documentary short that we sold to LeBron James's company over the Panini about Soraya. We're seeing what we're doing with that one now that it's all finished finally 2 years later. I then shot Rehumanized, which was the Marley List story, which was also a friend of the pod. And so I've made movies before, right? They've all usually been self-funded. You guys helped me fund my short scripted film during the Panini after we got robbed of all of our camera equipment. And you guys basically helped me make that for $10,000. It got into a bunch of festivals. We had a budget for Soraya, but it was nothing that was towards me. We basically made our finished version of the movie, and then we passed it on, and then they add to it and put their spin and their director's take on it. And then with Rehumanize, it was a full-length feature doc, but it's not as long as a regular movie. This is all industry jargon. Forgive me if this is boring you. But this, what I am officially signed on to direct, is the BuzzFeed documentary movie. And I'll let that sink in for a minute because even saying it feels out of this world. It feels like what the fuck out of body moment. This is happening where it's with a big studio, big production company. We have big budget attached. We've got big talent attached from the BuzzFeed days. And I figured I would like share all of the stuff that you don't get to hear about what it takes to like make a movie. And I'm directing it, which is again insane to say. Even though I've directed films, I've directed my last 3 things, but this is like someone else's money and reputation. It's just crazy. Okay, so where do I begin? Let's go back. We rewind to May of earlier this year when I was finishing up Rehumanize, the Marley List documentary. And I knew I was going to be in post-production for that for a while because it's a half animated movie, half live action. Basically, post-production is after the cameras are off, bringing it into the edit bay, doing effects, doing the whole edit of the movie. That's post-production, graphics, color, sound, and marketing and all that jazz. And I knew I was going to be in post for a while. And I was like, what's my next thing? Right? Like, what's my next project? Because I've weirdly found my passion and my position in life as a documentary filmmaker, which when I first say it, I'm like, what? That is not like where I thought my life would end. But also in a weird way, it totally makes fucking sense, right? Like, we were vlogging all the way 12 years ago, 13 years ago, when YouTube kind of became a thing. And then when I was at BuzzFeed, yes, I was making a lot of scripted content, but most of it was unscripted. It was, off the cuff vlogging or a certain format of video. And as I shifted into more like social justice work and advocacy work, it always ended up being something that was unscripted. And I did a lot of stuff around mental health, women's issues. And when I left full time, even in a weird way, doing this podcast has been like documentary work. Like, it's been interviewing a subject about something I want people to know more about. And I just want to be a conduit of information that like maybe I sprinkle a little bit of my flair in there, here and there and everywhere there. So while it does feel weird, it also, when I like kind of sit back and get rid of my imposter syndrome, it totally makes sense. And I knew I needed another big project. That's kind of the thing about making movies, is you gotta have your next thing, like you can't spend too much time and be precious about your projects, or else you can get really lost in them, and this industry takes forever. So I thought, well, what about a show about the days at BuzzFeed, like the glory days? So I put together what's called a pitch, which is basically, however long you're, depending on what kind of thing you're making, that tells you usually like how long the pages you need to write about what the thing is going to be about. You have to include your log lines, your story arcs. I usually make a lookbook. And I put this pitch together about doing a series, like a limited series. So if you can imagine something on Netflix, like, I don't know, Making a Murderer, or most recently like Pepsi Where's My Jet, or Stay Sweet, Pray and Obey, like all of those docs that are series, they're like mini series, limited series. And I sent it to my people and they were like, this is fun, this is great, but like no one's gonna look at this right now. You don't have any awards, like none of your movies are out, which is crazy because y'all, I've been sitting on movies that I've made. Like, they're just not out to the public yet. We're doing festival seasons with them. And so I totally understand that people were like, you coming in as a director, while we know all the work you've done, like the buyers don't know. And the buyers are like studios or production companies, or, a big director or a showrunner or producer. So all my people were like, wait till your awards come out and through, and like wait till your other stuff comes out, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, ugh, it's part of the game. It's part of the game, playing with your agents, right? So was sitting on that project, figured, hey, I should, finish my book and work on some other stuff. I've been taking care of Hippo, making content. And then a little scandal happened. And y'all know which one I'm talking about. Little scandal involving some boys who attempt doing things. My dear friends, there was a scandal that took over social media about him being a cheater, and Twitter was ablaze, social media was ablaze, TikTok ablaze, Saturday night ablaze. Like, people were just talking about not only the subject matter, but they were talking about BuzzFeed because that's where the group originated from. And I started to see what was happening in the social landscape of people were like reliving their nostalgia for the time watching BuzzFeed. And I really do believe there was sort of like this glory days era. And we all know, like, BuzzFeed's running out of ideas. BuzzFeed stole an idea. Like, I've heard all the downfall stuff of it. Like, it's boring. They don't get any views. It's all branded content, blah, blah, blah. But there really was this sort of like lightning in a bottle moment. And I started to see people kind of reminiscing and talking about that and how it shaped culture or internet in general. And so when I saw a couple weeks went by and people were still talking about it, I was like, hey, agents, remember that pitch that I sent you guys? This is the time. Go forth and go out with it and sell it. So they take it, what's called taking it out. And it's like, you know, they take the dog out for a walk. They try to see if anyone wants to buy the dog. That's not what happens when you take a dog on a walk. That was a terrible metaphor. Anyways, and a couple other companies, production companies, the ones that make the movies and develop projects, had also seen the buzz about the BuzzFeed. And some of them were starting to develop their own documentaries or docuseries based on the feedback that they also saw the internet was talking about those days. And so it just so happened that I am repped at an agency, at the same agency as a production company that was very interested in developing a show, a movie, something around that sort of era of time. And we met and I pitched it to them. And it was kind of like a perfect hand in hand marriage because they had already a financier to fund the entire thing. They had all the resources to make it, but I had the access and the actual inside scoop and the stories from my days there. And I feel like we were a perfect fit because I also have a really unique perspective. You know, I worked there from 2015 to 2018, I think, is when I left full time, but I still worked there part time 2019. And then I was still making stuff for them as a freelancer up until 2021. And I never burned any bridges. I was able to be objective about my time there. And I had a, you know, great experience, but I know a lot of people did not. And I'm able to see the flaws. And I wasn't blind to the controversy while I was there. And I'm also not just trying to make this like an expose because also, you know, we did cement our time in internet culture forever. So that was sort of my pitch to them was like, you guys have this part of the puzzle. I have that part of the puzzle. Let's like do this. And it worked. I'll never forget. I was hanging out with my ex-boyfriend, Jared, that was in town for Halloween. I talked about that briefly on the last or two podcasts ago. And my manager tries to call me and I don't pick up because I'm with Jared. And she texts me and is like, call me immediately. And I was like, I always think I'm in trouble because usually I am. I'm usually doing some shit that I wasn't supposed to or posting something and they have feedback or whatever. And she just goes, so how much would you need to make your movie? And I like kind of give her a number and she's like, great, because you're making it. And I was like, what do you mean? And they're like, Campfire, which is the production company, the studio, wants you to direct. And I was like, shut the fuck up. And she was like, yep. And I was like, shut the fuck up. And I was just like in shock and couldn't believe it. And was with Jared. So it felt like weirdly serendipitous and special because he had really been there with me through so many career moments, so many highs and so many lows. And it was just so special to have him there to see kind of this part of my life that, you know, he has been gone from for a few months now. It just felt really nice to have him see me be like, I'm okay and I'm doing things and I'm going to be okay and I'm happy and like the universe is looking out for me. And I'm not gonna lie, I shed a couple tears. I was just so excited because I really do feel like I was meant to make this. It's something that I felt with Soraya, the project with Soraya and the project with Marley, where I was like, I don't think anyone else can make this. Like, I need to make this because I have the trust of the subjects and I have the trust of the story. And I think I have a unique perspective to tell. And I love working with people. I love collaborating with people. That's like the thing I've missed the most with the Panini. So I first called, I think, my mom, which is so funny because I hadn't even told them really about this because I've been so busy with the other two movies that I just hadn't even like, if I called them for every idea I think up of, I'd be on the phone with them every single day. So she was like, "What? What?" Like confused but excited, but like, "What is this for? Your movie? Like which movie?" And I was like, "No, I haven't told you about this one yet." And then I called who else did I call? I called the Guilty Pleasures boys. I FaceTimed them because it's so cute. Our like little group chat is so wholesome. Like anytime anything big happens in any of our lives, like professional, personal, mundane, a good picture, something exciting, like the environment is just so tasty and so friendly and so like juicy and kind. And so I FaceTimed them and they were like, "Oh, fuck yeah. Oh shit." And like went out to dinner and I just was like, I can't, it didn't hit me. It didn't hit me for like very many days that I am directing a fucking movie. And the reason why this one is different is because Campfire is a legit production studio. Like they won an Emmy last year for doing the docu-series about WeWork with Adam Newman. They also made one of my favorite documentaries of all time, Euro Dreams of Sushi, which is an oldie but a goodie. I've watched it 1,000 times. They also just released the Murdoch docu-series on HBO Max. Like they're heavy hitters. They're the people you want to be in the game with. Also, our financier, Alex Lieberman, is like a young, with it dude who understands what's happening on the internet. And like, I think a big problem with a lot of financiers is you're always like trying to convince them, like, please give us money because this will matter. And I think he just got it. He's like, he got what I wanted to do. He got what the project was about. And I think we all had a shared vision of like, I could even see like what the thumbnail will look like on whatever streaming platform we sell it to. So yeah, it really didn't sink in for a while. And then like also knowing that I had it, but not being able to like say anything publicly was so hard, which that happens all the time in the industry because the worst thing you could do is get something and then something falls through with like the deal or like, the project doesn't, go through or whatever. They drop it for some reason or it gets stuck in development hell or whatever. But this, I was like, I just feel like I've been manifesting this and it's all going to work out. And I knew as soon as I pitched it that I had nailed it and that it was going to work out. And so I got to sit with the exciting information. I got to bring on two of my friends and former coworkers from BuzzFeed on as my producers. Sam Stryker, you definitely would recognize him if you see his face. And he also is like legendary Twitter personnel. He is queer. He is hysterical. He is a really good storyteller. He made so much viral content when he was at BuzzFeed. And I just knew like if I was going to be able to tell any story from the editorial point of view, it had to be someone like Sam helping me tell it. And then I brought on Ella Milashenko, also known as Ella Hart, Hannah Hart's wife, friend of the pod. And she was just like in the top tier of management and direction and creative at BuzzFeed, like for years. She was one of the first video employees. She worked with all the execs, all the sales teams. Like she was just so in the depth of the BuzzFeed days that I knew also that she's a hard fucking worker and she knew shit that would like blow the story out of the water. So it's been so fun to say, if we're going to make this movie, it should be made by the people who were there. You know, I think the worst thing that could happen is that there is a competing project, a competing documentary about BuzzFeed that another company saw the heat around the subject and wants to make their own, and it's all speculation, or it's all like shitty retelling of like, you know, there's no truth to it. It's all speculative. And what we're building with Campfire and Adam's company, is, or Alex's company, is we have the trust of so many people that were there. So we've got, you know, I think we announced publicly that we have Ben Smith on board, who was the editor-in-chief at BuzzFeed News. We've got Macy, my good girlfriend, who was head of social media and publishing there. We have Freddie and Jasmine and Curly and some other people that I want to keep secret so that I don't spill all the fucking beans. But it's just been so fun talking to all of these people, because everyone feels the same way, that like, it's time, you know, enough time has passed where it's not like a so distant memory, but it's enough time where we can all kind of, we've had time to digest everything that happened there. Everything happened so fucking fast when we were there. Projects, controversy, layoffs, hirings, hookups, culture, like everything was so quick and ever changing and shifting, that now that we've all, I think especially with the Panini, gave us all time to reflect and go, oh yeah, like holy shit, we did that. And I'm just so excited to use all of the skills and tools that I have been building up in this industry to finally do something big. And you know, I think back on how long I've been in Los Angeles, and even before that I was still acting and screenwriting in New York City. Like, I've been doing this my whole freaking life. Even when I was in Auburn, when I like tried to go to school in Alabama and do regular 4-year university bullshit, I was still like in TV productions. I was still in theater. I was always in the arts because I knew that this was the industry I wanted to work in. And look, there's not a lot of money in documentary filmmaking to be had. I will tell you that. Like, it's not a career to get rich off of, but I love telling stories. I love passing on information and learning something. I mean, it's the whole reason why I started this podcast right here. And it's been 12 years, almost 13 years. It'll be 13 years next year that I've lived in Los Angeles. And I feel like I have done so much. I've been an author. I've been an influencer. I've been a producer. I've been a writer. I have been a podcaster. I've touched every point of what I feel like the industry can be, from in front of the screen to behind. And I think because my personality on the internet has been what it is, you know, my brand, or if you want to call it that, which is so, I'll never get used to it, but like, from being a girl who was messy to a girl who was empowered, who drank, who wasn't afraid to talk about sex, like, people have a certain view of me and they don't really get to see me being like a director, or like a boss bitch behind the scenes, or an executive, like in the room with a bunch of people telling them, this is my vision and you should trust me on it because I'm the best person to tell this story. And with that has come a lot of validation getting this project, but also, of course, a lot of fear and imposter syndrome in the beginning of like, can I do this? Because being a director, y'all, like a legit director, where I have worn so many hats in other directing projects, where I knew the budget. I knew it was limited. We were all, you know, playing multiple roles. We were shooting on equipment that we could afford. You know, it was bare minimum budget stuff. Like, now these are the big dogs, and there's like 20 people I have to answer to already. They're like, what do you need? You want this? You want this color or this color? Do you want this person or this person? You want this date or that date? How do you want this to look? What do you want this to say? What kind of shots? Blah, blah. And I'm just like, oh my God, I'm making so many decisions. And I'm so, so happy that I have people I trust also along the process with me to like help me make those decisions. And I'm learning so much by, partnering with such a big production company and financier. Like, it's very cool to see how it's made on a large scale, like on a legit scale, where I feel like if God forbid I don't make a successful career as a creative independently, that I could 100% work at one of these companies and make, something in development or be a producer. Like, I have no doubt that's what I would be doing. So now is like the fun part, right? We got to release the announcement 2 or like a week and a half ago. It came out in a big, important newspaper. There's no such thing as newspaper. News outlet. It's called Variety, which is like the Hollywood news outlet. And it announced me as director, Campfire Producing, Alex Lieberman as financier. And I finally got to like share it with people and say, oh my God, I'm doing this thing. And now's the fun part. Like, we've already been shooting stuff. We're already like have a schedule of when we're going to finish and like when it should be out. And like, it's just crazy that that's going to be my life for the next like 6 months. It's already been my life for the last few months. It's already been stuff that I've been there's so much prep work behind the scenes with this stuff. Like, you have to figure out what is even the story, what is even the idea, what is even like the seeds you're trying to plant. And then once you think you have like a direction with the seeds, you have to follow the story. You have to convince people to trust you to tell it. You have to listen a lot. You have to do pre-interviews. You have to, slate out the order of things. There's a lot of strategy involved, and there's so much that happened there. Like, the days of BuzzFeed, oh my God, there's so much. How do you put all of that into a movie? And originally, like I said, I had wanted it to be a series where it would be multiple episodes, but I think probably the best thing right now for the project is for it to be a feature. It could very easily turn out that we shoot so much stuff that we're like, we need more time and a larger way to tell this story. But right now where it's at, it feels like a good tight doc. But who knows where it could go. And it's just like so fun. I thrive when I'm busy, but like doing something I enjoy doing. It doesn't feel like work in a way. Of course, there's days where it feels like work. And of course, I'm like doing everything I can to manage my pain and like prepare my body mentally and like, go to cryotherapy, go do hot sauna and cold plunges, like doing my yoga every single day, scaling back on the coffee, taking my vitamins, getting enough sunshine. And like, that's why Thanksgiving felt like, I don't care if I miss Thanksgiving. I just want to freaking rest today and like prepare myself. And even my astrologer said in the next couple months, I was going to be hermiting, which it could never be me years ago. But now I'm like, oh, 100%. I want to hunker down and like build something. And I had even shared this with someone the other day. I can't recall who, but I had said something about like Jared really was like my big wanderlust love, where I wanted to travel and go see things with him and make memories and expand my knowledge of culture around the world and do it with someone I loved. And like, he was really this big safety security blanket with my travel anxiety and my fear of airplanes. And I just felt like the whole time we were together, I was always on a plane, hopping around somewhere, doing something in another country. I was always ready to escape. And for a while, he was a really good travel partner. Towards the end, not so much, but I don't want that right now. I want to be here. I want to put my roots down. I want to work. I want to build something. I want to be so in the thick of a project that like I want to eat, sleep, breathe it, and then also create time for myself still, like find that gorgeous balance. Also, Leonidas is in the background. He is shaved. He looks a little cuckoo, but he's just exploring, and we're going to allow him to do so. Yeah, so that's kind of what I've been working on, and how I'm taking care of myself is obviously going to therapy. I mentioned hot and cold therapy, which is cold plunging in 38 to 46 degree water and then saunaing in 155 degrees hot sauna. There's like a studio that does that. And I feel like anywhere in the world, if you like Google wellness studio near you, it's so good for regulating your nervous system. Like it's all about learning how to self-soothe essentially, right? Because when you're in this freezing water, you go into fight or flight. And the first time I did it, I lasted 15 seconds and freaked out and was like, I can't do this. And then I was so mad at myself. And I literally trained myself to be able to sit in freezing cold water for 3 minutes and like dunk myself under. And it's all about the breath as well. So focusing on your breath when you're in that state helps you to get out of your mind and into your presence and like into your physical body. And I feel like I so often want to escape my body because of chronic pain that this type of therapy has been really helpful for giving me like an empowering tool that is like the breath and presence. And so even today I went and did cryotherapy where you get in like negative 180 or some shit. And I'm on like the intermediate level, training myself with that. And it just feels so good. Like when I went in, I was a little stiff. I had some sore spots. And after I got out, you're just on such an endorphin high that like, it lasts throughout the day. It's orgasmic, truly. And, you know, I've been honoring my feelings. I feel like I've had a lot of feelings come up with, you know, being single and like my breakup with Jared, where when he came back into town, it kind of like, I don't want to say threw me off. It was very affirming and validating, but it definitely stirred up some feelings. It like made my feet kick the sand underwater, you know, like the stingray shuffle. I was like, looking out for stingrays, but all this shit got stirred up. And just noticing when I feel sad or knowing that like my relationship with him isn't the same. So even when I want to text or call him something, like just because, you know, it's something that I know he would like or appreciate, that I shouldn't expect him to respond in the same way that he would normally, or even answer me for all I know. And knowing that like, what am I trying to do with that connection? Am I just looking for a dopamine hit to like see his name pop up, or am I honoring my sadness or desire for communication with him? And like, how do I really feel that feeling? um and like, I learned something really helpful this week on TikTok, funny enough. I learned about, I think it's called body doubling with ADHD, where I never understood why when I was with Jared. I always felt better about working when he was around. And I always thought in my head, I was like, this is so weird. I just kind of want him to sit next to me. Like, even if we were in bed or like at a hotel or sitting by the pool or like at a coffee shop, I just wanted him to be near me so I could work. And originally I was like, do I need this because that I need someone around to see that I'm actually working? And then I found out it's an ADHD thing where just the presence of another body, so a body doubling, puts in my mind some form of accountability. I'm not asking him to check in on me or to say, hey, can you like make sure I get this thing done? No, it's just having another human being in the present makes me feel more productive. And holy fuck, what a revelation, because I thought I was the only person in the world that felt this way. And then seeing all these TikToks about it, I was like, oh my God, this is a fucking thing. Like, holy shit, I want to body double all the time. And, you know, even last week we were outlining some stuff for the movie and Sam and Ella came over and we were working together, but we worked in silence for like 4 hours and we got so much done, but it was genuinely just, I think, us body doubling each other. And we'd chime in here and there and laugh and say things and like, oh, remember this, blah, blah, blah. But like, really, we just banged out so much work. And so now that I know that, I'm like, oh my God, that's how I take care of myself. On the days where I don't want to do work or I feel really lazy or uninspired, I'm just going to get with a pal, go to a coffee shop and sit, or like invite someone over to work in the office with me. And so that's been really helpful. So that's been how I've been taking care of myself. Wow. I just like kind of snapped to and realized how long I'd been talking for. I was like, this is going to be a short episode, but no, we gave you a full dose of info and kind of like a little update on me. Hee hee. If you want to know how dating's going, lordy, I'm gonna have to do a whole episode on kinks because there's no way I can open this Pandora's box right now. Let's just say things are going really well. I'm feeling really good. I'm being mindful of not trying to find any distractions right now. I'm being mindful of like my energy and protecting that energy because I have such a big project on my plate. I am like being aware of when I can't give someone the attention that they want. Even if that comes in the form of like digital communication or physical dates or whatever. I'm just being very mindful, and it doesn't have to be mean. It just has to be honest. And so I feel like I've been doing a good job of saying like, hey, I can't always be there to listen right now or to emotionally regulate with you, but here's what I can do. And like trying to follow up on scheduling things and trying not to cancel last minute. That's like my biggest thing is I'm such an Irish exiter in terms of like not ghosting people, but like I really do think I want to do something until the moment comes. And then I'm like, I don't want to go anywhere. What is that about, you guys? Yeah, that's dating. Hippo's doing well. He went to the dermatologist, the specialty doctor. He's on a bunch of new meds. He got his little allergy tests. And I'm really excited to have his first Christmas. I also got a new tattoo on my hand. There it is. If you're not watching this on youtube.com/Kelsey Darragh, they just got a glimpse and you didn't. Sorry. Yeah, and I want to take Hippo to see snow for Christmas. I don't think he's ever seen snow before, and I love doing like first time things with him. I took him to cryotherapy today to like sit in the room while I did it, and he was fascinated by the freezing cold air and smoke coming out of the little tube you stand in. And I was like, I think our boy might be a little cold boy, even though he's pretty much naked and would probably freeze to death. So I'm gonna have to give him a lot of sweaters. Anyway, okay, confidants, that's the update. Oh my God, what a like monumental motherfucking moment. So tell me, what do you want to see in the BuzzFeed movie? What subject matter? What do you want to hear about? Like what should I be on the lookout for? What stories do you want to hear? Who do you want me to interview? Tell me. You guys are like my little secret research weapon here, you and I, confidants. Okay, so that's it for this week. Don't forget you can rate this 5 stars on iTunes. It really helps us get seen. If you're not going to rate it 5 stars, please don't rate it anything at all because I'm sensitive. Hey, if you want something for the holidays, you can get someone my book, Don't Fucking Panic, and some sensitive merch. I also have, I'm sensitive tattooed on my hand, and I really love the sweatshirts. And we also have beanies. So if you live in the cold weather, or even if you don't, it's just stylish. You and those Gen Zers be wearing beanies at all hours. We also have a mug that says coffee gives me anxiety. It is a hollow mug. It's very cute, very aesthetic. But I think the book in general is always a good holiday gift to give someone, especially for that person where you're like, yeah, I don't just want to give them another like self-help book. This one's a little bit more than just self-help. This is self-hello. That was a terrible joke. All right, confidants, I will see you next week. I'm so excited to hear what you think about this new update. And I hope you had a fantastic holiday weekend and get right back into it. Find your passions this week. Find that energy. Okay, kisses. Love you. Bye.